Coming to you from the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast. That's this.
This is the LRRcast.
Yeah.
Are we sure?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
No, this is an intervention, James.
Oh, what have I been doing wrong?
You're too handsome.
Oh.
You're making the rest of us look like garbage.
Literally
Yeah.
20 minutes, not even 20 minutes ago, you called me an uggo. You need to make up your mind.
That wasn't on the air though, so it didn't count.
That was the trick, is
That
to
was for
lower
real.
your self-esteem.
That was for real life in make-believe land
so
here
that
at
you
Loading
would
Ready
sit
Run.
down into this podcast and we could talk about how gorgeous you are
All right, that's fair.
and how it needs to stop.
All right.
That's good. That's good.
I'll just do
No,
this.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
We've got.
No,
a
that
rasp.
just-
We're gonna just like run it across your eyebrows.
No, yeah, doing your hair like that just makes you look more roguish. That's not helpful.
All right. It's a LRRcast, guys. We are here, and we are going to be answering your questions today. We're doing the old-fashioned Ask LRR. We got Alex, we got Paul, and we got myself. I'm James, and let's dive right in. We asked you guys on Twitter to ask us your questions, so you can make sure you're following at LoadingReadyRun if you want to get in on this on a future podcast. But for now, when's the LRRCon footage getting put up? Asks Eric. Soon, Eric.
Sorry.
Soon, or maybe not.
I'd
Who knows?
really like to see that footage too, actually.
We'll work it out. It's on the list, but it's coming.
We do have a list. It's very long.
It is a very long
and very
list.
covered in dust, but
Yeah.
we have a list.
Wow, I don't actually. Oh, okay. Spin Engine asks, "What are all dressed chips? Supposedly they're coming to America, but I can't figure out what they are." Alex.
Okay, so this may have actually been directly because of what I was tweeting about last night. Because yesterday I learned 3 things. The first thing was that America does not have all-dressed chips.
That is correct.
Which
They also don't have ketchup chips.
Yeah.
So
Either, but yeah,
all-dressed chips, which is
Ketchup
just
chips, not a big loss.
something we take for granted here in Canada.
Yes.
The second thing that I discovered was that they are all-dressed chips coming to America under a limited engagement.
By the way of which chip maker?
Ruffles, I think.
Okay.
And then the third thing I found out is that people are going ape shit over it.
That's weird that people are going like excited ape shit,
Yes,
or like
excited ape shit.
like
oh
the
my
world
God.
is about to end ape
like
shit.
no, like pictures of people with shopping carts full of all-dressed chips.
What? I mean,
I
okay.
feel like people are going to be a little disappointed.
Look,
I don't know. They're good.
All dressed chips are tasty, but when I remember as a kid, like when that idea is put in your head,
Yeah.
all dressed chips,
Yeah.
and then you eat the chip, it's a little disappointing in that of all the flavors that we have of chips these days, these chips clearly do not have all of those flavors on them.
There's not every flavor.
That's true.
No,
Although I think a sensible person would understand that's not what they're about to eat, though.
Yeah. Well, you
I think
know
a
what
child
the
would be
thing
confused
is-
because I think I remember thinking the same thing as a kid.
The thing is, they're real good, and
They are very good.
It's the forbidden, like unavailable nature of it.
What would you liken the taste to?
Oh man,
I can't.
I
It's
remember it
like-
being a large portion salt and vinegar.
Yeah, it's kind of like salt and vinegar, but like more with like more
Yeah.
other seasons. Because on the package, it's got an onion, a red pepper, and vinegar. And that's supposedly what they like.
So it's more all dressed in the sense of like,
A bunch of stuff.
but it's not like all dressed as in all the different chip flavors.
No,
it's
it's
more
not.
like
no,
It's not
it's
a
more like-
combination of every chip flavor.
That's not.
it's
yeah,
more like
not.
all dressed in relation to like, and I guess like an all dressed bagel or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like
it's just-
all the fixins of
Yeah.
this kind of chip.
All right.
Is apparently unavailable elsewhere.
Top 3 favorite chips.
Butter chicken. Have you tried the new one?
No.
Butter chicken chips.
Yeah, no, they're doing a competition. Lay's is doing a competition right now where they've gathered 4 finalists from a series of flavors that they sort of pulled from across Canada. So there's Montreal smoked meat, PEI scallop potatoes, cowboy baked beans, and butter chicken. And they're like running these on
They're
Like,
have
doing this.
limited-
Yeah,
yeah,
they've done this before.
Whoever
I-
wins gets to stay.
I have a problem with chips that taste like meat. I don't think chips should taste like meat.
Yeah, but they taste
That's
like
weird.
fake meat.
You know what, Paul? We fought hard for our freedoms in this country, and those freedoms entail meat flavored chips. So I would just like you to
I
enjoy
really
them.
like salt and pepper chips.
Okay, actually, scratch the top
Rizzle.
3. What is your favorite? Okay, and when I say chips, I mean any any chip out of a bag or chip with like a dip or whatever. What would be your favorite
Favorite of all time?
of all time? Like it could be like, and we could be talking about
Jeez.
like nachos and salsa, or chips and dip, or just regular chips.
I mean, once you start putting dip on it, there's like the chips with like the big like 7-layer dip. I quite like.
Like a not like nachos with 7-layer dip.
Yeah, like I'm a fan of
Yeah.
that.
So would you say that's your favorite? If you had to give up all other
But-
types of chips,
Probably because that's like the most like if I'm at a place and I'm buying a bag of chips, my go-to is sour cream and onion.
okay.
But that's not necessarily the best. But that's
Your
just,
go-to.
That's my go-to, and they're
It's a strong go-to.
usually available.
Yeah. What brand though? Brand's important.
Ruffles.
Yeah, Ruffles is pretty
man.
good.
Old Dutch, yo. Old Dutch all the way.
Oh man,
Ruffles are
Come on, guys.
are really thick.
yeah,
Old Dutch
Ruffles
has got something. My favorite combination ever of all time is Old Dutch regular chips, like just your standard
Yeah,
salted whatever, and the French's French onion dip.
thought so.
It's the best thing in the goddamn world. Followed very closely by 7-layer dip with nachos. But I think my go-to chip is jalapeno chips.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the real hot chips. But
I think.
And you're with butter chicken because you're.
Well, I mean, like that one's really good. That's a new favorite. Before that,
Yeah.
it was actually maybe all dressed.
I'm also
All
for
dressed
real,
is-
it's
all dressed
really
is legit.
good.
Yeah, I
It's
like all
very
dressed a
good.
lot. Yeah.
I'm also a fan of the I don't know if they really do them. Usually don't see them that much anymore. But the like sun chips,
Oh yeah.
Can I just
like
say-
French onion sun chips. Those are real good.
I really hate those.
Oh really? That's like my go-to at Subway.
That was
is the orange sun chips. I don't
that
remember
was
what flavor
like an
they had. Cheddar.
aggravation for me all through high school because everybody's like, "Sun chips are so great." I'm like, these taste like filth.
All right. Before we spend the entire podcast
all right.
talking about chips,
Anyway.
because it sounds like we probably could.
I got and then get into I said like the chips with the 7-layer dip. Of course, as we all know, not all the layers in 7-layer dip are equal in terms of.
Ooh.
So 7-layer dip is there's beans,
Cheese,
cheese,
sour cream,
Sour cream, guacamole,
Guac.
refried beans,
onion or not onions, olives.
olives. I pick off.
olives, and then salsa.
Yeah. So 7-layer dip for me is actually 6-layer dip because fuck olives.
And if depending on,
But the thing is that the 7-layer dip that I really like is the Thrifty brand. Like, so we have a grocery store here called Thrifty's, and they actually make their own 7-layer dip, and it's actually the 7-layer dip I think I like the most. And the thing I love about it is that they just dump the olives on top.
So you can
So
just-
it can literally just take the container and go boop, and then all the olives are gone. It's 6-layer dip.
There's nothing more disappointing than like getting the 7-layer dip, and it's like there's like 2 layers, and then just like a little skiff of like sour cream and guacamole and stuff.
I'm okay with this. Like sour cream is like probably my least favorite of the 6. So I'm okay if there's just a little layer of it, but everything else is legit. All right, let's move on. Any martial
20-layer
arts?
dip.
Any martial arts experience between
Yes.
any of us? What do you got?
I took Iaido for a short time.
All right.
Many, many years ago with no practical application at all.
And do you remember any of it? Do you think you could
Probably
like
not. I mean,
walk into a
No. James, it's Japanese sword drawing.
It's how to draw.
That's what a weeaboo
how to,
I am.
How to draw a picture of a sword. It's-
Yeah, like you get your
It's not
you
much
get
of
your
a martial
brush out,
art.
and then you just like rub the ink, and then you like
And
get
then
the
you-
nice brush stroke.
and then you show it to your opponent, and
you're
whoever's
like,
drawn the prettier
And
sword.
then your opponent just bursts into tears because
he
it's
just
so
falls
beautiful.
to one knee, like sobbing openly. He's like, it's so beautiful.
I have a yellow belt in Taekwondo, which is
Really?
the first belt.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
After
the
the
sort
white
of like
one.
thanks for
that
showing
that
up
you
belt.
got how long ago?
I got it in college, so
Okay,
that would
so it's
be
like
10 years
over
ago.
a decade
probably.
ago. at
I
this point.
also, even more briefly, took Kung Fu.
Okay.
Like, actually, like downtown near Chinatown is like... I'm trying to remember. Kung Fu something? I don't remember any of it. I was watching a lot of like HK action flicks, and I was like, "This is so cool."
Cool.
I did appreciate how like intensely OG it was, because you like climbed 500 stairs up to like this ancient-looking sort of loft space, and you would just do drills on the hardwood floor with no equipment, and then just be like, "Okay, fall a bunch, now throw some punches."
I mean,
Yeah.
Taekwondo is the thing where it's like Taekwondo, at least certainly the way it's taught here, is more of a sport than an actual like defensive or offensive like thing. Like it's actually like it's taught more as a sport. So there's a lot of stuff that you do in it that is like a terrible. That are terrible ideas. If it's not actually really meant for self-defense.
TKD is meant for competition, right?
The Taekwondo, yeah.
Yeah.
It's meant for sport and competition stuff, and so, but not for the actual
Of dubious value.
it's of dubious value of defensive, as an actual like self-defense thing. I'm sure there are people who are amazing at Taekwondo that could do cool stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's like sometimes just like a
But
high
I
kick
was
is
doing
a
it
high
obviously for more of like a just as a health thing, or like a fitness thing, rather than an actual learning how to
That's
punch
probably
people in the face.
truthfully the most practical application for martial arts in this day and age.
My favorite thing is because it's a sport thing. There's only in the sport of Taekwondo. There's only, from what I understand anyway, there's only one move that you're allowed to do, allowed to hit somebody's face with. Like you're not. It's normally all body stuff.
Really.
And the only thing you're allowed to do to somebody's face is the axe kick,
Just that.
which involves getting your foot above their head so that you're coming down on their head with your foot.
That doesn't sound so good.
I couldn't really pull that one off.
Wow.
But and legitimately the reason why they allow it is, one, it's hard to do, and it's a high risk maneuver because you're leaving yourself way open, and two, it looks really cool when they do pull it off, so it's good for the sport.
Nice. All right.
Anyway,
Next question. Tim would like to know, stingers, those post-credit gags, purely
Stingers,
comedy,
right.
or get users to watch the full video, or maybe both?
I mean, personally, I would say that it's pure comedy.
Yeah, for us, it's certainly pure comedy. I don't think we've ever had a discussion or even talked about the idea of using a stinger to entice somebody to stay for the whole video.
Yeah, because
it was originally like there was an aspect of it actually originally that was getting people to watch the credits. So it wasn't necessarily like we didn't want people to leave. We just wanted people to, because we started doing stingers when we started doing credits, which was when we moved over to The Escapist.
Right.
And it was sort of partially because we wanted people to watch the credits, and also just because it seemed like, if you don't have anything after the credits, there's no, people will just click off immediately.
I mean, the thing is that at least with internet video, there is nothing to stop you from just watching whatever you want, right? I mean, Marvel, for instance, right? Those stingers, those things that exist post credits.
Right.
Or during the credits in a Marvel movie, you are in a theater and you have no choice. If you want to watch them, you have to sit there and you have to watch the credits, and that's just the case. But with internet video, there's nothing stopping you from just being like, bloop, click, click ahead, like whatever.
I mean, I guess the hope with stingers that we're doing is that the amount of stuff that you're trying to skip is so short.
It's true, yeah.
That it's not even worth.
It's not necessarily worth it. So
doing it. But I mean, the main point of it though is to, like, certainly the, especially like the one, like the every once in a while when they've shown up on crap shots,
which is what the gentleman here is saying.
Those are
a fairly recent thing.
Yeah.
And those are very definitely just because we thought of another
silly kind of
either we thought of another beat to the joke, or we had an argument about which punchline would be better, and then we're just like, we'll do one, and then we'll just do the other in the stinger. That's often, I know, like when we were doing the actual skits, we would sometimes be there'd sometimes be a little bit of trouble trying to figure out, like, doing something in the stinger and then realizing that the stinger part actually needs to be part of the real video.
The actual video, yeah.
And then we need another thing, because otherwise it's like now the video has no punchline, because the punchline is in the stinger. So now we need to move that into the actual video and then have another different stinger. And sometimes stingers can be good in terms of, because there is a break, because there's like the credits. There's sort of you can use them for kind of a temporal break. So often the stinger will be like, there'll be the whole sketch, and then the stinger will be like what happens the next day or something.
Yeah, it won't be a continuation of that scene. So you look at the credits as almost a time passing kind of thing.
But they're fun. And with the crap shots, don't expect to see them a lot. They only show up every once in a while, and I think that's fine.
All right.
Just means you always have to watch for them.
A couple question here for Graham, so that'll have to wait. Cameron says, if you could live in one fictional universe, what would it be, and what would you do in it?
Oh, jeez.
That's kind of a tricky question.
Well, I mean, like, most of the universes that I'm a fan of would be really awful places to live. And work. I think they'd be really cool,
I'm
but
a
like
pretty big fan of the current universe I live in and the things that I do now. So I'm gonna just go with this one. I could see visiting other universes, but not for long.
A fictionalized version of this universe in which there isn't a big construction site beside us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I don't know. I mean, it's like I hadn't watched a lot of the series, but like Next Gen didn't seem so bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
like as far
depends
as
who
like,
you are in the world.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you Starfleet? Are you So
I guess you as you.
Yeah, see, because my only other options are like Stalker, Mad Max, Blame.
Yeah, it's like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Why would
I
you
wouldn't want to live there.
I mean,
Why
I
not?
think I've answered this one in other podcasts, but the culture universe in M. Banks.
I've heard good things about that.
The Citizens of, like, that is the closest I've ever read of an actual, like, straight up utopian culture that isn't like some dark dystopia.
It's actually just no, this is actually great.
This is actually great. So, but again, you want to be one of the people living in the culture, not just.
Yeah.
There are lots of terrible things that go on in that universe, but if you're one of the citizens of the culture, things are pretty hunky dory.
Yep. All right. Next up, how do you know if a joke goes too far?
Oof.
People stop laughing.
Yeah.
Or people start laughing too much.
Well, I mean, like, the feedback
for the wrong reasons
is tricky because, like, it's on the internet. If you were somebody like a stand-up like comic would get much more immediate feedback. It's like you tell a joke, it falls flat, you're like, cut it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But I guess in the writing process,
yeah, I mean, like, I'm thinking
that's where a lot of these ideas like go away, because like I think that we get a group consensus. It's like, oh man, this is really funny, but it's just like, that's a lot of dead kids.
Yeah, and I mean, you've probably seen some of it in Loading Time, and you haven't seen some of it in Loading Time because we explicitly told Heather not to shoot it or to not use that footage.
Yeah.
Because there's when we're talking, about like a crap shot idea or a video idea or whatever, there's a tendency to like, there's whatever the joke is, and then you just sort of keep going with the joke.
I feel like it happens
and to the point where it's not funny to anybody but us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the escalation jokes, like when we're just brainstorming, it'll go pretty nuts. And I think that we have the key instigators there are Kathleen, Cam, and myself. Of just like taking stuff too far. It's just like, and then everybody dies.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Why aren't you laughing anymore?
I think there's a big difference between taking the joke too far and taking a joke not being funny anymore, right? Because I mean, sometimes we take a joke to a place where we aren't comfortable making that joke because of our established brand, basically.
Well,
but there's nothing wrong. There's certainly times where the joke is still funny. It's just not loading ready run funny.
And there's a difference between a joke or something that's funny among friends where you have the history with people that you know where they're coming from and you know the whole point, you know the joke and stuff, as opposed to putting something out, publicly where all sorts of strangers are going to see it and be not necessarily have that context to look at it.
Yep.
Though we do keep track of some of the like really, really good ideas that are completely unshootable.
Yep.
By good, you mean bad.
Yes.
All right.
But they're fantastic ideas.
Next question. Did you guys get your scene transitions with the questions/answers from Archer, or is that a parallel technique? It's cool. I mean, a lot of those questions and answer transitions are written by Graham and Kathleen, and they are massive Archer fans. So I would definitely say Archer was a big influence on those. On those transitions. So
I think there's also stuff like some of the like Spaced and that kind of some of the Edgar Wright's Simon Pegg stuff I know influenced Graham a lot in terms of just making some of those edits a lot kind of tighter, having things kind of continue on.
Stuart asks, what does a typical day in the life of a Loading Ready Run employee look like?
Typical day at work or through the week?
He says post and pre-weekly sketches. We'll just talk about post for now.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, that there isn't.
So let's pick a day, and let's pick Friday, because that's what day it is today.
It's Friday today.
So a typical day on a Friday, we'll see basically anybody who's going to be here on that Friday trickle in between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. And that's generally going to be the three of us, Graham and Kathleen and Cam.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally...
Beej usually works on Fridays?
Beej is working on Fridays. Ian can be here if we need him or if he's working on something else in the office. But chances are it's definitely going to be at least those 6 people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably sit around and just chat for a little bit, and then we'll come down and record whatever podcasts need to be recorded. So in the case of today, that is the LRRcast. Sometimes it's just Tap Tap Concede. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's none, but often it's one or the other, if not both. And then generally speaking, we spend the rest of the day working out what our Saturday is going to look like, or writing crap shots, or Friday night brainstorming sessions / Commodore Hustle brainstorming sessions. There are rare occasions when we try to film stuff on Fridays, but generally we try to save the big filming group days till Saturday, just because there's a lot more people around. Heather's around to shoot loading time, so it works out a little bit better for that.
Yep. Sometimes we eat lunch.
I was going to say, generally speaking, we do the podcast, we break for lunch, and then we come back and we do that. And then at 6 o'clock, is that when... 7 o'clock is Let's Know.
7 p.m. is Let's Know.
So 7 p.m. is Let's Know, or Watch and Play. So that's Alex and or Graham and or somebody else, whoever else is going to be there.
I think Beej might be coming in tonight.
Often, Paul, you have D&D on Fridays, so generally you and I peace out at like 5:30 because I drive you to D&D, and then we're kind of done. So that's the Friday.
Yeah, and then Saturdays are basically the same, except
a lot more shooting.
They trend towards shooting more.
Yeah.
Although sometimes we still do podcasts and stuff on Saturdays.
What do we do throughout the week when we're not here? Or is that part of the question?
I mean, that's enough of that question for
All
now.
right.
There's, I mean, we could again.
You
we
get
could
to wonder about
I mean,
that
we
one.
could do a week of Loading Ready Run podcast if we wanted to. So, oh god, I clicked the notification.
Nice.
I'm sorry, it's all
What's
over.
it like
oh
being
god.
such a chuckle?
All right. What was your first experience doing con panels like? How did you feel about it? To be honest, I think the first convention panel that Loading Ready Run ever did would have been a KCON, right?
But what about
Panel-
the sort of like Q&A at the screening in Vancouver?
No,
KCON was way before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Panels were generally fine, if slightly demoralizing, for a long time. in the
Four people that showed up.
Well,
well,
because
in the sense that there would be like the same people.
it would be the same people.
Because we would only when we started we'd only do them in Victoria.
Yeah.
And there's only like maybe 2 or 3 conventions that happened in Victoria, and the video game, anime,
Yep.
comic book community in Victoria is not that huge, and the overlap between that community and Loading Ready Run is even smaller.
Yep.
And so there would be a pretty small contingent of people, and they would be there all the time. So we kind of the wall between the people on stage and the people in the audience kind of broke down
Yeah.
when there's more people in the audience than there are on stage, or less
Other
people.
way
people
around.
in the audience than there are on stage, because there'd be like
That-
6 or 7 of us and like 4 people in the audience.
That only happened like once or twice where we actually outnumbered the people in the audience. And I think that was like one of the very first early panels. And then that happened again.
There's that Godicon panel where
Yeah,
there's
that-
one person.
There's 2 people. They scheduled. So what happened is they scheduled our panel during Friday Night Magic, during
So
FNM.
yeah,
Okay.
it was 1 during Friday Magic.
Yeah.
2, it was the very first panel,
Yep.
and
I think
and
it was the first
and-
year they did panels.
Yeah, and so people didn't know that they were doing panels at all.
Yeah.
It was the first panel. It was in this room off to the side, and it was their first year in a new venue, and they had blown up in terms of popularity. And so they were literally, like, people had been in line all day, actually just
registration was a nightmare.
So, like, people were still... Tons of people were still in like the registration line was still like around the block
When our panel started.
When our panel started,
that was probably one of the worst panels in terms of attendance, and yeah,
we started just like watching YouTube videos
because this was like that happened when we had panels at like PAX, and PAX is our big panel. Whenever we go to a PAX, we do a panel, and generally speaking, we get hundreds of people show up, and it's awesome and it's a lot of fun. And I remember, Godicon was like pretty soon after, I think, a PAX, and we had a pretty decent showing at PAX, and we went to this Godicon panel, and there was like 2 people. And it was just like, wow, all right, well, but generally panels are fun. I love doing the panel at PAX. It's
I mean, as
a bit of a rush.
as is demonstrated by this podcast, we like talking about ourselves.
It's true. In regards to the new Friday nights, which just went up this morning,
Are we still making that show?
There's a question of that later, I think. Any actual cringe stories over what you did with now valuable cards? I mean, I don't remember ever like slamming my fist into a Black Lotus and like scraping it along the ground,
But like a lot of people
certainly
did that. Like some of the most trashed power cards.
Yeah.
were obviously played on console.
I mean, I started playing in late 1990 or early 1994, so I was playing with duels and probably Power 9. I really don't remember. I was 10 or 11 years old, but we played it outside at during recess or lunch on the pavement, right? Like it's just what you did, because the cards didn't really have value at that point, certainly not in the minds of 11-year-olds. So
I mean, the thing that I remember most when I like, when we started playing Magic again a few years ago, I went and got out my old cards. And the big thing I remember looking at them is I had like I was mostly played unsleeved, but I had some sleeves, and I had some I had 2, I think, like heavy duty card protectors, and the cards that were in the sleeves and the cards that were in the deck, the protectors, were worthless. And the cards that were just bare in the deck were the ones like my Wasteland, my all these valuable cards were just like bare in the deck, and like my Cobalt Overlord.
Hey man, you got to keep that guy protected.
Was in my Grinning Totem, which at one point was worth a lot, but it's just, and that was not that I didn't know what the value of the cards was. It's that the value of the cards has changed so much over the intervening time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember a time when I was in Dragon Strike and we saw, when it still existed, we saw in the case of Black Lotus and we're like, $100.
Yeah, right.
Like, don't.
All right. Next up, what kind of tacos do you like? The kind that are in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I am a big fan, and I think my favorite taco in town is at La Taquiza, the chicken tinga with pico de gallo.
Yep. Spicy verde, but yes, exactly the same thing.
Yeah, for some reason in Victoria, in particular, in like the last 2 years, maybe.
Yeah,
there's been this explosion of really good, nice Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
Or Mexican cafes more.
Yeah, they're cafe. Yeah, that's definitely what
that are actually have instead of whatever taco time.
Yeah.
They actually have good Mexican food, and so I've been introduced to the little where you get half a dozen little teeny weeny tacos instead of a big taco.
Yeah.
And those are delicious.
Yeah. Caleb would like to know if we'll ever bring Iron Stomach Challenge back. In my opinion, no. And I say this as an old aging man whose stomach does not agree with him anymore. I cannot eat like I used to, and I couldn't imagine doing some of the stupid shit we've done with
It's also
Iron Stomach.
I feel like we've sort of done everything we can with that format.
I mean,
and it's also if you want to watch people eating gross things on the internet, it's not that hard to find.
There's no shortage.
And we can't, and some of the stuff that people are willing to do in terms of that, we are not prepared to do.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy whose entire channel is recreating recipes made on How To Basic and then eating them and then throwing up.
Yeah.
The things people will do for hits.
I can see it. Maybe there, being some in the same way as we did it with the Kickstarter, we did the Iron Stomach thing with the smoothies. I could see maybe doing some sort of special thing like that again, but not as a series, certainly.
God, no. What city would you like to most visit, and why is the answer Dublin? Well, the answer for me isn't Dublin, but this is Straniak who asked this question. I mean, Dublin's on my list of cities that I
would certainly like to
Dublin's in
visit
Belgium, right?
Sure.
I think so.
No.
Finland, right? Sorry.
Tokyo,
of course.
Yeah. I'd like to visit Tokyo, Dublin.
Tokyo, Dublin.
It's like Tokyo Disney.
I don't know. There's just a lot of places that I haven't been that I would like to visit. There's no, I don't think, one city that I sort of value higher than anyone else. I really want to go to Germany. Of all the countries that I want to go to, Germany is probably my number one pick right now. But I've never been to Europe, so if I was to go to Germany, I would make a much larger trip out of it and see a lot of as much of Europe as I possibly could. But yeah, I there's not one city in particular that I need to go to above anything else, I don't think. I just want to see as many places as I can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is an interesting question. How do you think things would work if all the old Loading Ready Run people moved back to Victoria? So let's for the sake of argument say that is
Tim,
Matt, and
Jer.
And Morgan, I guess.
I mean, so it's tricky because Bill and Morgan still sort of more or less live, Bill still lives in Victoria and Morgan's in town a lot. Their decision to move on from Loading Ready Run wasn't because they moved, it was just because they were ready to move on with their lives. So let's let's ignore those guys for a minute because they made the decision to leave Loading Ready Run, while the other guys actually made the decision to leave the city. So let's bring back Matt and Jer and Tim.
Tim's got 2 kids that we could use.
What do I think would change? Well, we would need a bigger space. This is, I guess, also assuming they're like back full-time crew or dedicating themselves as much as possible. Like maybe they have jobs here, but they're still like here every.
I mean, they would show up in Friday nights more.
We'd have a lot more empty venti mocha cups.
We would have a lot. Yeah, we'd have a lot more garbage around the office.
Considering how many empty venti mocha cups we have now.
Yeah,
that would be.
It would be impressive, but
yeah.
I mean, Matt and Jer are pretty big coffee drinkers. I don't actually know if anything like massive would change.
We would have more people on hand.
We would just have more people. I would think a lot of you know that, you know, if you are friends with somebody and they move away, and whenever you hang out, you can pretty quickly kind of just revert back into your old ways, like the old times and old ways of doing things, and that would just become the norm around here, which would be kind of interesting. But
and I mean, it's not like, I mean, both Jer and Matt, I mean, obviously Jer because he's been in videos, and Matt as well. You know, they live in Vancouver, which is not that far away.
It's not.
And they've come back to town many times and, you know, to hang out and stuff. So it's not like we are completely cut off.
No, I mean, from Tim, yeah.
Tim we haven't seen in a long time.
Tim was here about he was here about 10 months ago for Christmas, and he ended up getting a quick little cameo in the final sketch,
right? Yeah.
Which was super cool. I really love that we were able to do that. But Tim is not somebody that I talk to. He doesn't even really use Twitter anymore, which is kind of weird, because my interactions with him used to just be Twitter, but I haven't really seen him on Twitter very much. So,
he probably has his hands full.
Yeah, probably. All right. If LRRR had enough money to purchase Vancouver Island, would you still stream? Yes.
Yes.
But the streaming would be way, way bigger.
I would think the streaming could be better.
Yeah.
Also, we would own Vancouver Island, which I didn't know it was for, like, how much money is that?
I don't know.
That's a lot.
How do you buy islands that people already live on? Like, you would have to buy
Who would you buy it from?
From Canada, I guess. You would have to buy like all of Victoria and Nanaimo, and
it's a weird hypothetical. Don't look into it too hard. We just own it now.
Like
it's
more
fine.
than the GDP of
I think
all the people on Vancouver Island.
This was a conversation that came up yesterday on my stream. I think somebody talking about how like if we were rich enough to buy a province, would we keep doing what we do? And I'm like,
I don't understand.
Probably.
You don't buy. I mean,
again, hypothetical.
Yeah.
You buy a province and it's yours.
But it's like how rich?
Basically,
is
that's
that?
how much money do you have? Which led me to an interesting conversation I had with.
Like
Ashley.
if I had enough money to buy British Columbia, I wouldn't use it to buy British Columbia.
No, it's true. Okay, so here's
why the hell would I want that?
Here's the hypothetical I came up with last night.
Kind of broken.
Because I'm interested to hear what you guys would say. Here's the situation. You are given the opportunity to make 75 million taxable dollars, so you are paying tax on this. 75 million taxable dollars a week.
$2 million.
A week. No.
A week.
A week.
Okay. So yeah, so that's like maybe
so hold on.
30 million.
You have
35.
No,
you get like half, right?
It'd be like 40%, I think. I don't think they would take half away. Okay, so for the sake of argument, let's forget the tax and just say we'll just say $40 million a week in your pocket.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
You have to work. It's 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. Yeah. The work isn't necessarily like it's just an average mundane job. Like it's harder than most jobs, and you get home and you're tired. And it's not necessarily enjoyable, but it's $40 million a week.
Uh-huh.
And you can work that job for as long as you want. How long do you work that job?
Couple weeks, maybe.
Couple weeks?
Yeah, maybe a month.
Okay, so So I said 6 months when I had that conversation because I feel like
160. I feel like 160 million would get me pretty far.
Yeah, so that's because that's a month,
4 weeks,
right?
yeah.
So, because here's the thing. In the
I guess it depends on how crappy the job is.
So,
but
here's the thing. In the hypothetical situation, I don't know where this money is coming from. Let's just say it's coming from. It doesn't matter where. Nobody is losing. You are only gaining. Right? Nobody is being negatively impacted by this thing. So the question is, do you have a responsibility to do this job for basically as long as you can to make as much money as possible,
and like
to then be able to turn around and help a stupid amount of people?
Oh man!
Right? Like, and because
I don't like that.
That's where my thought process came in. I was like, man, if I just did it for a week, I'm set for life. But how greedy is that of myself to just take 40 million and leave theoretically billions of dollars on the table that I could use?
How this became the selfish thing is to not earn $40 million a week.
A week, yeah.
It's like you're not going to earn $40 million a week. You're so selfish.
These questions are hypothetical because they don't actually have a right answer.
But the thing is that, and the other stipulation I said is that once you stop, you can't go back. Yeah. So you have to keep going for a
Jeez. I don't know. Maybe I would just keep going then.
Like, it's certainly not something that you could do forever, right? Because then you just would make yourself miserable. Because you're working 60 hours a week at a job you probably don't like. But I feel like I could very easily do a job I don't like for 6 months or a year. Especially at the, because again, in the hypothetical world, we are the age we're at right now.
Yeah.
Right? So 30 year, early 30s, sacrificing basically a year of your life, and not even necessarily sacrificing because you can still have a life. It's just going to be a little bit less so.
That one day a week where you're like, I've got even saving a bunch. I've got like $1 million to spend today. What am I going to do?
Just fly somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. That was
interesting idea. The like Robin Hooding aspect of it is weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I know. That's yeah. All right. What do you feel is the biggest challenge of putting on Desert Bus? Everything up until the time it starts.
Yeah, I mean, just the logistics.
Logistically speaking, Desert Bus is a very big thing, and we do it with a lot of people. Here's the thing about Desert Bus. Desert Bus could probably be very easily organized by less than a handful of people if it was their main full-time job every year, but it's not. So we have a massive team of, 16 people who throughout the year do their specific job to make sure Desert Bus can happen, and having that many people do that as their job for Desert Bus makes it just a little bit more complicated. I mean, a lot more complicated. It works out. We've done it enough times at this point where I feel pretty confident that everybody kind of knows what needs to happen and what they need to get done to make sure that the event happens.
Right.
But certainly the last couple of years have been just sort of, finding that rhythm and pace. And
yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, when the actual event starts, it's much more relaxing than the lead up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Favorite historical fact about Canada?
Do we have those?
I mean, there are historical facts about Canada. It's whether or not you have one yourself.
My favorite is the first Prime Minister of British Columbia changed his name to Amour de Cosmos.
I love the cosmos.
Okay.
Lover of the universe.
Lover of the universe. All right.
And we've basically stayed at that same level in terms of prime ministers or premiers for the rest of time.
Basically, go and YouTube Heritage Minutes and watch all of those.
Yeah, that'll probably...
Those are all my favorites because those are all the ones that I know.
Like how our country got named by somebody fucking up a name.
Yeah.
It's like, I think he means the village. No, place is called Canada.
The whole thing is called Canada.
It's like, you stupid white.
The Avro stuff is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's true.
Funny in the kind of boohoo sense.
Yep.
All right.
Just we had a really cool thing, and then we canceled the project, And, oh, surprise, surprise, Boeing was like, oh, hey, there's a whole bunch of incredibly talented aeronautical engineers that just got put out of work. Come over here and work for us.
Okay.
All right. Caleb is going to really quickly get the canned answer. He wants to know who came up with the idea of Desert Bus for Hope. It came from a combination of ideas from myself and Paul. Paul was the one who found the game and wanted us to do something with it. And I was the one who came to the group with the idea of doing something for Child's Play. And those didn't happen at the same time. And at some point, after both ideas being told to everybody, they kind of merged into this one thing where it's just like, how about instead of playing Desert Bus for Loading Ready Run and doing something silly with it, we make ourselves play it and raise money for charity. And that's how Desert Bus was born, really. I mean, originally Desert Bus...
That's how it was born.
Originally, we were talking about doing like a local event for
Child's like an
Play.
in-person thing.
But at some point, we're just like, well, we have this silly game. We could just play this and stream ourselves doing it.
And then I came up with the Desert Bus for Hope name.
Yeah.
Although, realistically, Desert Bus, like, for the children probably would make more sense. But for Hope, it sounds better.
Yeah.
And also to that end, for the first one, like I built the website for the first time we did it to put the totals up and everything. And I said I put the first annual because I thought it sounded better.
Yep.
At that time, we hadn't actually planned on doing it again or anything.
We had no plans.
Here we are.
Here we are. All right. Have the police or anyone else ever stopped you while filming to ask what was going on? Yeah. I mean, police...
Every once in a while.
I think, like, I can only think of, like, 1 or 2 times the police have actually done it. Campus security up at UVic has done it a few times. And then just general people who are walking by or driving by will stop and wonder what the hell's happening. But absolutely.
My favorite was we did a shoot in a parking garage. This was the money or whatever it was. The one where it's like, did you bring the money? I brought the stuff. I also have the stuff. Or I also have the money. Do we not have any stuff? You know, that whole thing.
That was a good video.
And so we were doing that in a parking garage because we thought it looked good. And so it was these, you know, we had the things full of with or briefcases with fake money in it, which was like packs of paper with like 20s on top. And we had like these things of baking powder or flour or something that was supposed to be our cocaine.
Yeah.
And so we were doing this, and you know we were filming. We had like a camera and
the boom
and
all
and
that
stuff. And the like security guard for the parking garage like came around and just like came around and kind of looked kind of vaguely interested and just kept going. And we're like, okay, cool. We kept doing it. And then he came around, you know, on his second time around, his rounds, he stopped and he was like, he's like, 5 minutes after I left you guys, I was like, I should probably have asked them what they were doing. There's these people with briefcases full of money, blocks of cocaine stuff.
It's like, yeah,
I mean, we had the camera, so it looked a little bit more legit. And we were like, you know, we were pretty young at the time, too.
It's like,
so we didn't look like hardcore gangsters.
Yeah. You're just out in the open.
we now have the boom pole, which is kind of a dead
But
giveaway.
but yeah, just the way like he like was like, so what are you guys up to? It's like, it's because the way he just like ignored it the first time and then came back and was like, I should probably actually find out what you're doing.
It's true, actually. The boom pole helps so much. If you're out there and you're making videos and you're constantly getting, you know, bugged by whoever about what's going on, what are you up to, and you aren't using a boom with like an XLR hooked up to the camera or whatever, or like a Zoom. If you can make that happen, do it, because it will stop so much of that.
It's immediate sort of shorthand for
not only shooting, we should not
only
disturb them.
We're shooting something, but we're shooting something that's like
official.
Yeah, somewhat pro. It's not just like it's a holiday thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I was just thinking of other people getting stopped when we did the Canada Man video.
Oh, yeah.
We were shooting the beginning part of that, which is sort of this comic book thing where it's like stills.
Yeah.
and so I was there in like the long johns, silly hat on and all this stuff, and Grandma's there with his underpants on the outside and all this stuff, and like some people come up to us and like ask us what we're doing, and I realized that because the problem is we're shooting stills right now, so we don't have the camera, we don't have the boom, we don't have anything. We literally, there's just like somebody with like a point and shoot camera is taking pictures of us. I was like, this does not look pro. It's gonna turn into a really cool video, but it just happens to be that the equipment that we're using right now doesn't really show us in the most professional light.
All right. Couple more questions.
All right.
Crusader 1089. Where do you guys like to eat out? Favorite restaurants, fast food, etc. Okay.
That should be easy.
I mean, so like
Sizzling Tandoor.
Sizzling Tandoor, 5th Street Bar and Grill, Bin 4.
Yep.
Pig.
Pig is quite good. It's a
right here
barbecue
we
shop.
go to the Parsonage all the time.
Parsonage, we eat a lot of food at.
Kuma.
Now
that it's back, there's a food cart just down the road called Taco Justice.
Taco Justice,
which
we were talking about the Mexican places earlier. Taco Justice, La Tequista, Taco Fino. All super good.
And Hernandez.
Hernandez is like kind of like at the bottom of my list now, just because of mainly just where it is. It's just like
it's just slightly over,
slightly a little harder to get to, and I actually just prefer, I think, the food at the other two places, and even Taco Justice. So,
do you want to get tacos after this?
They're not there, I don't think. They're not there today.
What?
I think they're somewhere for Rifflandia.
Oh.
Although I would get pig. So here's a question. What's your go-to, because they also ask fast food, go-to, and I'm talking traditional fast food, because you could probably make the argument that like pig is kind of like fast food. You go up, you order, and a couple minutes later you could be walking out of there with a bag. But
it's still kind of like
I'm talking
a restaurant.
Traditional McDonald's,
Wendy's,
Dairy Queen, Burger King, Subway, the traditional fast food joints. What's your preferred place of eats?
It's Wendy's.
So Alex is Wendy's.
I tend to go Subway or A&W.
A&W. I also like Subway, sort of, kind of, but if I want like a fast food burger, I go Dairy Queen. So that's interesting.
All over the map.
We skip McDonald's because fuck McDonald's.
Yeah. For real though.
Yeah. Me personally, I worked there for like 5 years, so I can't fathom really. Like once a year, I will go there and get 2 cheeseburgers and a chocolate milkshake, and that's basically all I can do. I think I would actually vomit if I have to eat one of their eat the fries. Like really? I think I actually wouldn't be able to do it. The fries are like the only
edible thing that
no, I couldn't do it.
They do.
I just
every once in a while,
salted and boxed too many of those things. And it's just
that's fair.
Every once in a while, I get one of their like real fruit smoothies they do now. Those are actually pretty darn good.
Yeah.
You know what's secret tech though is you go there and you get a plain sundae of just like some soft serve, and then you get a Slurpee and you make a screamer.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I did that once. I was like, oh, this is really great.
The one thing that McDonald's does really well is fountain drinks, in my opinion. Like, their Coke is, in my opinion, the best Coke you can get.
Just have the best ratio.
I guess. It's so good. I love it. It's delicious. All right. What are your favorite board games?
Man, I haven't played a board game in a long time, and I keep wanting to say Magic, but that's like not.
Yeah, it's not really like so. Lords of Waterdeep is probably in the recent past.
Do other board games count?
No, I think you need to be like a board game board. I mean, like Ascension, I think like a deck building game kind of counts, but I don't think like Magic counts.
What about Love Letter?
Yeah, Love Letter's absolutely.
I really like
Love Letter is legit.
Love Letter's great.
Love Letter Batman, yo. That's the way to go.
Really?
Yeah, Love Letter, but themed I own it. It's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, we should play it. It's so good.
Man.
Love Letter is great.
I'm the Batman.
Because they can skin it with basically any IP they want, and it works. And I want to buy them all.
Does Werewolf count?
Yeah, sure.
I've had so much fun with Werewolf.
Apparently, Secret Hitler is amazing.
Oh, yeah, is it like that?
It's apparently it's a similar
Hitler.
to a werewolf type game. I know Graham and I think even Kathleen played it while they were at PAX.
Because I played it with a bunch of fans at PAX and I had a complete gas.
Yeah.
I made a werewolf set out of the Ravnica Guild cards.
Oh, okay, sweet.
What about old school board games, like when you were a kid?
I mean, my favorite board game when I was a kid was, it was Trouble. Is that what it's called?
Trouble? Pop-O-Matic Trouble?
The one with the dice and
The
the little...
dice and the pop.
Yeah, that was Trouble.
That was Trouble. I think Trouble was probably my go-to, and Snakes and Ladders. I always wanted to play Mousetrap, and I never did.
Nobody ever fucking played Mousetrap. They would just build the machine.
And then
I
trigger it, and then be like, all right, back in the box.
For the longest time, I didn't even realize there was a board game related around building the stupid thing.
I played Mousetrap,
It's ridiculous.
and the problem Mousetrap was always one of those ones where one, it never actually worked properly when you needed it to.
That's fair.
And two, it was one of those games where actually winning the game was incredibly hard.
No, okay.
Because the whole point was you got to the end, and then your little mice would basically walk around in a circle on this thing, and you had to make it so that you had to get it so that the other person was on the trap square, and then you got on the square that activated the trap.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds really
And
annoying.
combining and having those, and you had little pieces of cheese that messed with their movement or something. But I just remember that I had there was a ton of games that ended with us just going around this is stupid.
Yeah.
But also once it actually activated, then the thing would always jam halfway through.
Did you guys ever play? Oh, the name of it's at the tip of my tongue. It was a board game that had a VHS cassette that you would play.
Is it the Star Trek one?
No, it was a horror themed one.
Oh,
Where
I don't know.
there was a board game and you just play it, and as you started the game, you would put on this tape, and
then-
intermittently throughout the game,
Yeah.
this guy called the gatekeeper would be like, "Stop, do a thing, because I command it," and
Which one was this, sorry? This was...
I don't remember the name. It's
Because there was a bunch of those,
Yeah, they
VHS.
did a series of them.
Yeah, well, there's a Star Trek one, and...
Yeah, Graham had the Star Trek one. I remember playing that
Yeah,
once
and
or
it
twice.
was-
We played it up
was
at the...
gloriously cheesy.
We go on that ski trip every year, and they played it up there this year,
Nice.
which was pretty silly.
The
Yeah.
I always liked Sorry. I don't know if you
Sorry
ever
was...
played that.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry is sweet.
So I guess
Operation.
we're particularly Canadian
Operation
game.
was good. Hungry Hippos. Hungry Hippos is sweet.
Stupid game.
I fucking love Hungry Hippos.
Like,
Just
everybody's
mash
is
the shit out of it.
Hungry Hippos is let's design a game that is going to encourage people to break it as quickly as possible.
Basically.
Here's what we do. We need to get a copy of Hungry Hippos and put an F5 key on each of the paddles. Just
Refresh. Dear. All right. The last question is coming from a gentleman who would like us to discuss the idea of putting pumpkin in everything
oh god.
this time of year.
The whole pumpkin spice thing.
They're just pumpkin spiced everything these
So,
days. It started in Starbucks, but now it's just
I want
everywhere.
to join the backlash against the backlash against pumpkin spice.
So you want to fight for the right for pumpkin spice to be a thing?
No, I just am tired of people complaining about pumpkin spice. Is what I'm tired of.
Oh, okay. So you want to fight against the people who are
Oh
complaining
wow.
about
How
pumpkin spice?
how recursive are we
I
gonna
just
get here?
I like pumpkin spice stuff. I enjoy that flavor.
Okay.
I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah.
Right, but
I'm
that's
not crazy about it not being there.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid that certain flavors are only available at certain times
That's
of the
the
year.
thing that pisses me off the most is that we live in an age and a time where if I want a pumpkin spice latte, I should be able to get a damn pumpkin spice latte
Although
in whatever month it is.
I like to imagine that it's
It's
well,
syrup, for God's
it's like
sakes.
yeah, it's like well, it's they have to harvest
No!
the stuff. That,
That's not how this works.
I think that was like John
no,
Oliver
it's
or
engineered
somebody
scarcity.
did a thing about that where it's like you can go to the store
Yeah.
and just buy that syrup anytime you
Anytime
want.
It's the pumpkin spice thing is the same as the bacon thing.
Yeah.
where it's just like people going ape shit over some food stuff. Mm-hmm. Cause
there is an interesting thing happening with real pumpkins this year, from what I've been understanding, is that they are apparently growing or sprouting way earlier than normal. So there is actually too early. So there is actually a chance that there just could not be any pumpkins for like jack-o'-lanterns in October.
Has somebody figured out how to make a pumpkin that is pre-spiced? That like you just eat the insides of the pumpkin and it's pumpkin spice?
No, I don't think anybody's figured that out. Pumpkin is good for one thing and one thing only: pie. Pumpkin pie, man. Pumpkin pie.
I am a fan of.
Pie is pretty great.
I'm a fan of pumpkin pie.
Is legit. I want pumpkin pie right now. In fact.
Well, I mean, you could smash pumpkins.
That's true. You can smash pumpkins. I feel sad that I do feel sad that we live in a society where the main use of a perfectly usable vegetable is hollowed out and lit on fire and blown up and just completely wasted.
Yeah.
Like, it actually kind of makes me sad.
Yeah. This farmer spends all this time growing this like massive vegetable and you just like detonate it.
I mean, I quite like pumpkins. Actual, like, you know, sometimes my family, we have actual, like, you know, roasted pumpkin, like, because it's just like roasted squash or something, right?
Yeah.
But pumpkins actually kind of suck as a, like, if you think about it.
Oh, they're terrible.
The reason why they work so well for jack-o'-lanterns is because the inside is mostly empty.
It is mostly empty.
Or it's mostly like the gut stuff.
No,
it's like you only actually can eat the stuff around the outside.
Yep.
It's
how many other hollow fruit do we have?
It's very inefficient.
Well,
gourds are often...
The seeds are good, though.
That's true.
Like roasted pumpkin seeds?
Yeah, pumpkin seeds are good.
Those are legit. And I used to do that whenever, like when we were kids, we would always scoop all the guts out and I would pick out all the seeds and we'd roast up the seeds. But so many seeds are wasted every year. It's so sad. We gotta go steal some pumpkins and give them a better life, Alex.
You go right
You
ahead.
go ahead. You're not gonna help me?
No.
All right. Well, I think that's enough for questions for the day. I think that was a good set of questions. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the LRRcast. And as always, it is brought to you by you guys over at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Not only do you guys support this podcast, but you also support the Tap Tap Concede podcast and the Crap Shots and our streaming and Commodore Hustle and the Mystery Box, which is just a bunch of other podcasts that we do.
It's
if you don't want to
Corpline,
if you don't want to support some of those things, tough. That's it. It's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing.
And we appreciate all of those who've chosen all.
But we are pushing ever closer to our next Patreon milestone, which is the AFK streaming. So make sure that if you're not a Patreon and you want to be, you can head over to, I think it's down here, patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun.
I don't think it is because
nobody's here to actually hit the button.
Womp womp.
Pretend it's there. I'll put it there in post. I probably won't put it there in post. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
Bye.